Time to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about a possible Deshaun Watson suspension.
The whole Deshaun Watson thing, I've been doing some research saying that there might not be no suspension, or he might get a lighter sentence. You know, like I said before, this is a crazy fiasco. And you compare that to Josh Gordon, that's a different situation in my book, because they didn't have this new set of punishment system at the time when he got suspended. I just want to know what you guys' thoughts was. Go Browns.
All right, as always, appreciate it. Ashley, I went on record back before the hearing. I thought it would be 12 games. I think it's going to be less than that at this point. Just in hearing what, let me preface that by saying, if the reports of what the NFL has presented are true, the sources that have let that out, I think he's looking at a 6 to 8 game suspension at most.
Yeah, and let's preface this all too by saying, and the caller alluded to it as well, is this punishment system has not really been utilized before. So it makes it, I think, really hard to kind of predict how everything is ultimately going to play out. But yeah, Dave, alluding to those reports that we've all seen, I think, at this point, and knowing what I've learned about Sue L. Robinson, the person who's going to decide this initial suspension, I think it wouldn't surprise me if it was 6 to 8 games, quite honestly, and reading about how she ruled as a judge and how important evidence seems to her and things like that. So I think that is certainly a possibility. It's also a possibility for it to be a much longer suspension. And of course, we know the NFL has the ultimate trump card at the end of the day, because any appeal, and remember, either side can appeal. It's not just Deshaun Watson. The NFL side can appeal the initial ruling as well. And then in theory, Roger Goodell could have the final say on all of this, and it can be bumped up to whatever the commissioner sees fit at that point. So again, I just think it makes it so difficult to predict what's ultimately going to happen, and quite honestly, even what the initial suspension ruling is going to be from Sue L. Robinson, because she is an independent party, and that makes it really hard, and that's by design. It's more, I think, this initial step is more like a courtroom, but it's not quite the same burden of proof that the plaintiff, quote unquote, side would have to prove in a courtroom. So it's really difficult to try to make a guess, but you can kind of see arguments on both sides for why an initial ruling might be what it is.
Yeah, and again, Roger Goodell, everybody is making a lot about Roger Goodell having the ultimate say. This is a process that was collectively bargained. So if he does not want the wrath of the NFLPA, which he may or may not care about, he's going to be very cautious and defer to the judge if in doubt at all.